we use Nouche, which has a digital sales floor. And so 2 or 3 hours out of the day, I'm with my reps on the digital sales floor. We listen to each other's calls. We dial together. We parachute within people's conversation. We give feedback. We cheer for each other. And that kind of gives us a feeling of like being in the office while being digital. So I think you're right. I think in office is hard to replicate, and it brings so much value to young reps. But also we need to be able to switch and adapt and run fully digital. So I think both models work. It depends upon the people that you hire and the technology that you use.
Welcome, everyone, to the 1% Edge podcast. Here we have the privilege of speaking with amazing guests and having real conversations about their journeys to getting 1% better. For today's topic, we're going to be talking about driving or improving or maximizing business development efforts, from cold calling to messaging that really works in today's environment. And to help us with that, I'm really honored to have Kahlil Trocmé. How'd I do?
Perfect.
He is the head of business development at Factored. Sorry, folks, if you see me laughing, I worked really hard on trying to get the name right because people that know me, I usually mess these up. So Kahlil, hopefully I did pretty good. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Carlos. I really appreciate it.
You got it, buddy. You got a great background, and I love the topic because especially in today's economic environment, people wanting more pipeline or more business development effort somehow becomes top of mind. People will argue, well, more prospects is always important, but when things get tough and people get worried, it's like, hey, I got to really grow that top of funnel. To kick us off on the topic, one thing that I see a lot of times is, the board or the leadership team says, we need more deals at the top of the funnel. And they don't put parameters around it to make them good deals, qualified opportunities. In other words, they want to see volume, which reps will go, sure, I'll throw anything in there. But is it good volume? Because if it doesn't meet certain requirements, and that's what I'd love to get your viewpoint on, it's not a really qualified lead. Kahlil, how do you feel about that? And what can people do to make sure they get really good pipeline?
Sure. To me, it's all about fundamentals. It's about having a thorough understanding of your ICP. And within your ICP, having a thorough understanding of your buyer persona that you're going after. For me, the fundamentals of a playbook includes what I call a buyer persona matrix, which is a document that encapsulates who are the buyers that you reach out to within an organization. What are the goals and responsibilities? What are the tangible problems that you solve for them? And what are the solutions you bring to market? And what are the tangible benefits that you bring to those buyers? And so the problems and the benefits should interlock kind of like a puzzle piece, so to speak. And how fast can you disseminate that messaging and positioning across email, LinkedIn DM, and cold calling in an efficient manner to scale your operations as fast as possible? So if you have a thorough understanding of your buyer persona ICP and you have the tech stack to be able to communicate those problems to your buyers, you should be able to build pipeline on a repeatable basis, and hopefully the pipeline is qualified with the proper decision maker within the organization.
All right. So I think you're right on the money, by the way. But let's unpack it a little bit at a time. First off, on the ICP, I run into some organizations, they go, yeah, we have an ICP. But as soon as the founders find the big deal or the big logo that doesn't meet the ICP, sometimes they want to go after it. And I get that, right? But how do you create a good ICP, and then how do you stick to it? Any tips there?
Yeah, I think it starts with like having a thorough understanding of like the product that you're building and for who are you building for, right? And so if you are building a MarTech solution, you're probably going to go after marketing folks. And so you have CMOs, VPs of marketing, VPs of demand gen, and directors. Like understand like what problems are you solving for which buyer persona, and are you able to clearly articulate the problems that you're solving and the tangible benefits of your solution. So from an ICP standpoint, it can be focused on SMB or mid-market or enterprise, but also what kind of tech stack do these companies have? Does your software solution integrate with that tech stack? So I used to work at Drift, for example. We only went after the marketing teams. We went after VPs of marketing, CMOs, and directors of marketing. And we knew that we were solving a website conversion traffic problem, right? And so I think highlighting the problem and being able to attach a tangible outcome, because we sell outcome as sales leaders, really spoke to the buyer persona, and that's how we're able to generate hundreds of millions of dollars in pipeline within the 3 or 4 years that I was there. So I think it's about staying human in your approach. It's about staying human in your messaging and positioning, and connect with buyers, letting them know that you're here to solve a problem that is costing them quite a bit of money. But of course, like the market is flooded with a variety of solutions in different markets. So it's your job to stand out, from your website copy to your email copy to the way you connect with folks over the phone. It's about providing value and solving problems, not just selling random software that just can integrate anywhere. So I think if you stick to the fundamentals of solving tangible business problems that cost organization quite a bit of money, then you have a chance of piercing through a market and make room and hopefully get a slice of the market share, if that makes sense.
I couldn't agree more. And it's something I just want to double down on. And again, I agree with you, is you said, hey, at the beginning, are we building a product for a specific buyer and to solve specific problems for them? Because a lot of times we build tech and it could do a lot of things, but we don't think through that use case. Who's really going to buy it, to solve what, and to achieve what outcomes? And again, you said that in your whole thing. And I if you were here, I'd hug you, because I can't tell you how many, whenever I see a go-to-market function that's broken, it starts right back here at product development and product marketing, and then it leads into messaging and sales and going forward, right? And I see those things connected, especially these days, especially in a SaaS product. All right. So let's say we got the right ICP. We're going after it. We've got the discipline to try to stick to it. You mentioned playbooks, hot topic. I know companies that create books, and it's really difficult, and they're really good, and they go through a lot of fire hoops to get there. Unfortunately, it's so hard to create them that as soon as they print them, they're old. Yeah. And no one ever wants to go back and update them. So what might be some key characteristics about playbooks that really make them effective in your view?
Sure. First of all, if you're printing a playbook, you're old school. So probably printing is not the right way to go.
That's fair. That's fair.
But here's how I think about developing a playbook for BDR teams. The foundational block to me is, one, do we have a thorough understanding of our ICP? I'll give you an example. Here at Factored, we target organization in the mid-market, enterprise, and strategic segments who are actively hiring for data science and AI engineers. That is our ICP. The second part is developing the buyer persona matrix, which is, if you're starting to sales, marketing, operations, and C-level, for example, do you have a thorough understanding of the goals and responsibilities of each buyer persona? Do you have a thorough understanding of like the problems that these folks are experiencing on a day-to-day basis, your solution, and the tangible benefits of your solution? That is a foundational block. And that buyer persona matrix dictates how you communicate via email on your sequences, via LinkedIn DMs, and also via cold call. So that buyer persona matrix dictates your messaging and positioning across all channels. And it is your role as a head of sales development or head of BDRs to empower your reps to disseminate that messaging across your ICP in the United States, or if you're going internationally, in an efficient manner. I'm a big believer in problem-centric prospecting, meaning that all your touch points should clearly highlight the problems that you're solving for, the tangible impact of your solution, and how you can help companies scale faster, increase cost efficiency, or productivity, for example. And so I'll give you an example. I came into my organization about a year and 3 months ago at Factored. The first thing I did was develop a buyer persona matrix, develop the sequences, cold call scripts, and templates, and enable my reps to have high velocity, high touches towards our ICPs. And I was able to increase our meetings booked by upwards of 350% within my first 60 days on a job. Just by empowering my reps to have clear-cut messaging that cuts through the noise and gets to the decision makers and the companies that we target.
I think it's awesome as well. So many times, I see these playbooks and it's all about us. Like we're the leading provider of, or we're the best, or we were first to market, or we were this, or we're the biggest. And everything you talked about is, hey, your playbooks needs to be about them,
Correct.
their ICP, right? Their businesses, their problems. And the last part, and I'm just doubling down on this because I think this is such an important insight to the audience. It also has got to have the outcomes, the results that they are going to get in using your products and services.
Absolutely.
I think sometimes we kind of sugarcoat it. We're going to lower costs. We're going to drive more productivity. No, how much? Give me specific examples. And it could be one example. Like I love it when people go, we have tons of customers, Carlos, and we really help with this, and this metrics. And I go, great. Give me one example of one customer and one metric. I go, that's the level of empowerment we need to get, because that'll make our messaging much more real and attractive. Am I on the right page on that?
Absolutely. I'm thinking back to my days when I was a rep at Drift. We went from 0 to $100 million in about 4 years before we got acquired by Vista Equity. And one of our best performing emails was we would send this email to VPs of marketing, chief marketing officers, and head of demand gen. And we would literally take a screenshot of the web form and say, the odds are your web form is converting less than 2% of your web traffic. What if instead you had a chatbot that would automatically qualify, convert your website traffic, and book demos for your sales team 24/7? And so we would take a screenshot of the web form, and then we would take a GIF of the chatbot onto the website that was booking the demo for their reps. So all of a sudden, the receiver would both get the problem that we're solving for and the solution in all one email. It was a
Nice.
two-liner, a screenshot, and a GIF. It was personalized to their website. It enabled them to see the before and after picture of saying to themselves, well, my current website traffic isn't converting at a high clip. Why is that? Because the experience of filling up a web form is less than ideal. So how about we create a fast lane for your buyers to talk to your sales rep as fast and as efficiently as possible? Just a clear example of what like proper problem-centric messaging looks like and how you can convey a bunch of value with your buyers before even asking them for a meeting.
It's awesome. And in fact, that's leading us to this idea about, what makes better messaging, which you just gave us an example of. I can't tell you how many people prospect me and they, hi, let me tell you what I'm all about. When can we set up a call to tell you more about me? or my development team, my accounting service, or whatever it is. I'm like, hey, I don't have time to hear your pitch. Your example seems to be your messaging is more around, hey, let's talk about this problem. In fact, in your example, you go, this specific problem that I know you're having on your website and these outcomes that I can achieve for you. So it creates instant interest. If I see the problem, I'm willing to have a conversation with you. Any other tips on effective messaging, especially in this environment where we're all getting bombarded?
Yeah, I used to work with Aurora Solar. I was head of business development there. The playbook that I wrote generated about $180 million in pipeline in 2 years. And something that we did, by the way, Aurora Solar was a software provider for the solar industry. And so we would take a GIF of satellite imagery, zooming down on a rooftop and automatically designing the solar panel installation for solar providers. And so in our email, kind of same concept, would say, typically speaking, installing solar panels on a rooftop is very complex and time consuming. What if you could press one button in less than 30 seconds, you have a complete quote and design done for you with artificial intelligence and satellite imagery? So all of a sudden we take the hard work of like maybe climbing on a roof, measuring things with a tape measure, holding up a sun eye in the sky to measure the impact of the sun on a specific rooftop, to, hey, you can press one button and in 30 seconds or less you have your quote ready. It's all about simplifying things for the buyer, but also thinking about the impact. How does that impact your revenue? How does that impact your productivity or cost saving? And highlighting these with real case studies that are published on your website. So again, I can't emphasize this enough. It's all about problem centricity. Stay as problem and solution centric as possible. And also, like, nobody likes to read paragraphs, right? Can you explain your solution in 3 concise sentences that make the buyer stop and say, this is interesting? And I think we need to remind ourselves that we're selling curiosity. We're selling 30 minutes. we're not selling the solution. I tell my BDRs, you guys are time sellers. You are in charge of sparking enough curiosity for the buyer to concede to 30 minutes of Zoom time so they can talk to our head of sales, for example. So sell 30 minutes, sell curiosity, be genuine in your approach, stay human, and disseminate your messaging as efficiently and as fast as possible. And there's a bunch of tools that you can leverage to do that. But at the core of sales is solving problems. And this is the reason why I love my craft and my job.
I think that is awesome. All right. So let's talk about it's just part of messaging and sequencing because, so number of studies out there and there are always new ones coming out. One of the ones that we looked at is most reps give up after one outreach, 50%, 80%. Another study said 92% give up after 4. Most people think they're reaching out a lot more. A lot of customers don't even notice it's a 4 or 6 outreach.
Sure.
So when you think about your messaging, and this is a little pivot, do you have any recommendations or rules of thumbs of, and I understand maybe the cadence changes based on the audience, right, the persona, but any idea on how much outreach, what channels, and over what period of time?
Sure. I'm a big fan of the Goji framework, which is about 15 touches over the course of 30 days, spread across LinkedIn DMs, phone calls, and emails. I feel a little bit of old school admitting this, but like I'm a big phone guy. The most efficient way to cut through the noise and to book qualified meetings is to pick up the phone. And so, I installed a tool called Nouche within my first 2 weeks on the job. And it's an AI dialer that enables you to call 5 to 6 prospects at the same time and only route your BDRs to whoever picks up the phone. So instead of putting up $400 within a week, my reps are able to put it up between $1,500 to $2,000 in a week. So when we think about the velocity and speed, we're able to have a lot of conversation with qualified buyers and spark enough curiosity to book upwards of 60, 70, 80 meetings per month. So as you think about the touches, it takes about an average of 8 touches to even get the attention of a buyer. So what we do is we double it up by putting 15 to 16 touches over the course of 30 days. If that buyer decides to not answer, we'll give him a 3-month break before we go after him again. Because when we go after a company, we know that we can solve a tangible problem for them. So we're doing them a favor by repeating this process until we can get a hold of them and hopefully get them into a sales cycle.
I love that. All right. You mentioned being old school with the phone. If you look at stats, the phone still seems to have the best conversion rate. So and I love your opinion here. One of the things that we talk about a lot is daisy chaining these together. And I've gotten this question before. What the hell does that mean? So if I call and I leave a message, maybe there's an email follow-up that says, I'm also going to call you next Thursday and try to catch you at that point in time. So they're interlinked, right? So it's not like, I'm just trying to reach them and get like this one-shot knockout.
Sure.
I'm trying to leverage the multiple channels and refer to each other. So it looks like it's really a campaign to get there. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, you want to create a surround sound around your buyers by, crafting thoughtful emails, thoughtful LinkedIn DMs. And I'm a big believer that like whether we're talking about emails or LinkedIn DM, they're just a warm up for the call. Because the odds of booking a qualified meeting over email or DM is slim to none. I would argue probably less than 2% chance. But my team actually converts about 23% of their cold calls, meaning that every time we connect with a buyer over the phone, 23% of the time we convert them into a meetings booked, which is 3 times the national average of 6.6%.
Yeah.
So when you think about this, is you send a thoughtful email. That email gets 4 or 5 open rates. It gets 2 clicks. And when we pick up the phone, it's like, hey, Henry, I sent you an email about XYZ. Does that ring a bell? It's a great opener for a thoughtful conversation over the phone. An average cold call should last 4 to 5 minutes. And again, we're selling time and curiosity. Can we get the buyer to accept a 30-minute meeting just to learn more about the problems that we solve for and the solution that we provide to the market? So emails and DMs are warm up to the phone call. The phone has and is and will always be the number one way to build qualified pipeline, in my humble opinion, because that's what I've seen for the past 10 years.
Awesome. All right. So one of the things in doing prospecting, and one of the things I think that impacts teams and makes them not as effective as they could be, is, and I think prospecting just takes a lot of discipline. They
Sure.
jump around these things. So one of the things we talk about is time blocking. And so, for example, if we're going to do cold calling over the phone,
Yep.
let's block out a time. Let's try to do it as a team. Let's have the right mindset going into it. It's also this whole thing about multitasking, right? It's easier to go, hey, I'm calling fintech for the next hour. This is what I'm doing. Versus, okay, I'm going to call this company, and then I'm going to do an email, and then I'm going to research this company, and then I might call them. Oh, it's lunch. So what are your thoughts on being more productive and even easier for them to kind of time block some of these activities or channels?
Carlos, that's a great question. The number one productivity hack that I tell my reps over and over again is do one thing at a time. If you're going to research your account, map out in sequence, do that for 3 hours straight. If you're going to cold call, do that for a couple hours straight. If you're going to email, just email. If you're going to LinkedIn DM, just LinkedIn DM. I think we get scattered. I think, we live in an era of endless notification, endless noise, and distraction. So put your phone away, put the distractions away, and focus on one activity at a time. And so what I have my reps do is time block. So the first, between 8 to 10 a.m., maybe, finding accounts to go after and sequencing the proper decision maker is a great use of your time. Between 10 and 12, putting up, $200 or $300 via an AI dollar is a great use of your time. Take a half an hour for lunch and then hit LinkedIn DM. So it's all about focusing on time blocks, one activity at a time, and also be as aggressive as you can possibly be in terms of outbound and outreach. So I think because of the evolution of AI, we're able to go much faster, much more efficiently. I'll give you an example. Last year, my team of 3 reps put up, I think it was something like $170,000, booked upwards of almost 600 meetings. And those numbers seem incredible because when I was a rep, it was manual dials. It was one dial at a time. So because of the evolution of AI dialers, for example, my reps are able to put up sometimes $1,000 in one day, which I find mind-boggling because
Right.
back in my days, I sound like an old man just saying that. But putting $100 was extraneous. It was difficult. It was time-consuming, and so now my reps are able to put up $1,000 in a day, which is incredible. But the ROI behind this is a rep having the ability to book 4, 5, 6 meetings within one business day, which is remarkable.
I think it's amazing. All right. So this leads kind of to the tech stack thing of it. You mentioned having a dialer reach out. I will tell you, for me, if that dialer is one of those where you pick up the phone, you go hello, and there's that awkward wait or a silly little beep, and then boom, they come on, and it's abrupt. I'm like, ugh, this is a cold call.
Yeah.
I'm off to a bad feeling right off the bat. Any advice on the tech stack and maybe one or two tools that you think, hey, these are must-haves these days?
Sure. I run pretty lean. I don't like too many tools. So I'm happy to tell you about my tech stack. I
Sure.
have Outreach as a sequencer, I have Zoom Info as a data provider, and I have Nooks as an AI dialer. That alone, I'm able to do quite a bit of damage and generate a bunch of qualified pipeline month in and month out. You have to watch out for deliverability, making sure that your emails actually land in the inbox, which again is a warm up for the cold calls. And then Nooks.ai has been a game changer for my organization. As I said, my reps are put up an average between $1,500 to $2,000. And you're right, there's the bridge, which is like a small beep noise that connects the rep with the buyer, is a little bit of an awkward transition. But if you understand the pure value of being able to connect with 15 to 20 buyers on a daily basis, it is worth the sacrifice of maybe having one prospect hang up because they heard a beep. One of my reps uses this opener, which is, "Can you hear me okay?" And all the buyers are like, "Yes, I can hear you." And great. And then he goes into his pitch. And so what may seem a bit of an abrupt connection can easily be taken away if you have somebody who's charismatic and fun to talk to over the phone. it is awkward to hang up on a great BDR because they keep you locked in and they spark curiosity, and hopefully their personality shines and enables you to stay over the phone and make the prospect forget that they're on a phone call, on a cold
Yep.
call, just a thoughtful call about business problems we can solve for them. So yeah, and I think, the national average for conversion on connects is about 6.6%. I'm very lucky to have amazing reps who are converting above 20% of the cold calls. So
Wow.
it's like watching a slot machine just roll in and day out. Sometimes we book 7, 10, 11, 12 meetings in one day. And that is just a rush of dopamine that I haven't gotten tired of, and something that I really enjoy about my job. So
I think that's fantastic. You're having huge success. And, you're right. It's kind of like piecing these things together, right? Like, even if you have that little delay, the power of the messaging behind it.
yeah, absolutely.
Like, one of my pet peeves is when people first say, "Is this Carlos?" And I'm like, most people, you're not calling their home and mom's answering, you're calling them.
Yeah.
So as soon as you say, "Is this Carlos?" you're demonstrating you don't know them.
Yeah.
So my little tip to folks is, Kahlil, like, question mark?
Yeah.
Yes. So, you expect Kahlil to answer. I don't expect Khalil's mom to answer and go, "Oh, let me get him."
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
little things like that, like you said, "Can you hear me?" I think those are great little things. And I always recommend to people, just A/B test them. See if you get a better connection, a better messaging. Does it feel better for you? Do you have more confidence on the call because you're making these little tweaks that constantly get better?
Yeah, absolutely. My favorite opener when I was a BDR was, "Hey, Carlos, this is Kahlil. How have you been?" Very casual. Bit of a brain scrambler for the prospect because all of a sudden they're thinking to themselves, "Do I know this person? Have I talked
Yeah.
to them before?" And the typical reaction 99% of the time is like, "Oh, I'm doing well. How are you?" It's like, "Great. Hey," and I would just dive into my pitch. Like, "I'm on your website right now, so that in XYZ, right?" But I think that you can do so much with tonality, the tonality of your voice, your energy. I think sales is a transfer of energy, is a transfer of enthusiasm. And so if you have the right tonality, the right energy, and you're excited about what is it that you sell, buyers kind of lean your way. And it's just like kind of like a transfer of an energy that's kind of magical, right? And so that's what I appreciate the most about sales is, you know, being able to adapt and be flexible, chameleon like with prospects, and you know, develop a relationship and spark enough curiosity to sell 30 minutes is what we do.
I love it. All right. Kahlil, tell me a little bit about yourself, your journey, right? If audience wants to get to know you a little bit better, you mentioned some of the companies you work for. What else would you like to share?
Sure. A little bit about me. I was born and raised in the south of France in a city called Toulouse. I had the dreams of moving to the United States ever since I was a kid. I was lucky enough to be born with dual citizenship, so I'm half French, half American. At the age of 14, I moved to the great state of Wisconsin, out of all places, where I went to high school and college. So going from the south of France to Wisconsin was a bit of a shock from a weather perspective. Graduated with a major in sports management with a minor in communication at the University of Wisconsin La Crosse. And shortly after that, moved to San Francisco to break into tech. I worked for the French embassy for 4 years, where I helped French CEOs deploy go-to-market playbooks and help them acquire new customers in the United States. I did that for about 4 years. Had a chance to work with about 30 different French software startups, which was amazing because I get my hands into lots of different markets and lots of different products. I then worked at Salesforce, Drift before we got acquired by Vista Equity. I helped Aurora Solar go from $50 million in revenue to $100 million in revenue in about 2 years. And now I'm at Factored. I'm absolutely passionate about top of the funnel. I love the craft of selling. I love managing BDRs and SDRs. And that's a little bit about me. I spent about 10 years in San Francisco before relocating to the East Coast. And, I feel very grateful to have found a craft that I'm passionate about, and work feels like play to me, which is, I feel like I've won already just by loving what is it that I do for a living. So that's a little bit about me.
Well, being the son of two immigrants myself, it's a great story, and you've had great success. And I think you're doing it right, which is, one of the reasons I wanted to have you on the podcast and share your experience. I think you're doing it right in a lot of ways. So congrats.
Thank you, Carlos. I appreciate you.
All right. So last two questions to kind of finish this off.
Sure.
My final question is the same one always. Hey, what might be that little piece of advice, be it business or personal, that you would share with the audience that, it's part of what made you 1% better every day and successful? What might you share with them?
I would say, especially in your early days, outwork and outlearn. I find a lot of value in being the first one in the office, sending the most emails, making the most cold calls, sending the most DMs, and then outlearn, be thirsty for knowledge. Constantly read new books, listen to new podcasts, read articles. I think if you mix the combination of both, you have a chance at just becoming a master of your craft. And so this model helped me climb up the leadership channel throughout my 10 years in sales. And so that's what I keep repeating to my reps. Not only do you need to work hard on the field, but you need to educate yourself off the field, so to speak.
I think that's awesome. All right. So that brings up another question that I want your opinion on. So most people in business development are usually earlier in their career when they start out.
Sure.
And today's hot topic is, should we all be in the office? Should we not? Should we have a mixed environment? I'm on the fence. Part of me feels I've always been out. So, in and out of different offices. Yeah. But part of me feels early in your career, it is nice to be in an office together, to fist bump your person next to you, to learn from each other. But I don't want to just be old school. So I love your opinion.
Yeah, I think the in-office environment you can't replicate that. And it's very useful for when you're early in your career. But I think, we need to go with the evolution of technology in the current environment. And so I think that you can still build a very high-performing team that is fully digital with the right tools, but most importantly, with the type of people you hire, right? And so if you hire high-caliber A-type talent and you enable them with the proper tools, I think you can build a high-performing sales team just by having the tools, right? So, for example, we use Nouche, which has a digital sales floor. And so 2 or 3 hours out of the day, I'm with my reps on the digital sales floor. We listen to each other's calls. We dial together. We parachute within people's conversation. We give feedback. We cheer for each other. And that kind of gives us a feeling of being in the office while being digital. So I think you're right. I think in office is hard to replicate, and it brings so much value to young reps. But also we need to be able to switch and adapt and run fully digital. So I think both models work. It depends upon the people that you hire and the technology that you use.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's especially if you can find moments like you're using Nouche to create those moments of bonding. And then maybe you meet quarterly or you meet semi-annually or meet once a year at a sales kickoff. Moments that you get to, bond a little bit, but then now when you're remote, you know each other. So sorry, I didn't mean to go digress on that one, but it seemed like a hot topic. All right. Last question. Hey, Kahlil, if people want to get to know you better or reach out to you, what's the best way for them to get in contact with you?
Sure. Please connect with me on LinkedIn. Add a note to your message so I can refer back to the podcast. And feel free to send me a DM. Happy to connect over Zoom or just share tips and best practices.
Thanks, Kahlil. Really appreciate this. It was a great podcast, great episode. And, I love the things that you're doing across the board in your business development effort.
Carlos, thank you so much for having me.
Awesome. All right, everyone. That does it for this week's episode. Please subscribe on your favorite platform. Check us out weekly. And I wish you nothing but the greatest success.
Thank you.